Hello, this is Don Myers again, and we're going to take a few minutes to explain how you will convert the cracks in your HDPE pipe to a structurally sound solution. The things that you will need for that conversion. First and foremost, you'll need our PTFE Tech Patch. This will bond to the HDPE pipe in such a way that it will handle the various forces affecting the pipe, whether that is hoop stress or propagation force. The items that you will need include the poly prep. It's an etch for the HDPE. You'll need our accelerator. Our accelerator serves as a catalyst. It's critical to generating the chemical reaction that will actually bond the HDPE and the PTFE Tech Patch together. You will need two different types of adhesive. One, our thinner adhesive that will be used on the top part of the repair. Secondly, our thicker SI Black that will be used on the bottom part of the repair. You will use our poly filler to fill the cracks. Filler adhesive, and finally filler accelerator. Once the adhesive is in, you will use a zip tie, the top of a zip tie, as a spreader. And then you will either apply the filler by sprinkling it on the top or spraying the filler up with our gun from the bottom up. Now, there are battery-powered sprayers available. We didn't have time to get one in-house before we shot this video. Then there will be a brush. After each application of the filler, you want to brush out the excess. Last but not least, the final step of the process is to add heat. You bring the heat up on after you apply the PTFE Tech Patch to about 49 degrees centigrade, and it will automatically increase between 56 and 60 degrees centigrade. And that heat will be maintained. That heat lets you know that the chemical reaction is working. Now, let's get started. The next thing I want to show is to simply cut off the smallest amount of the tip of the adhesives as you can. Again, just very tip. You do not want to apply too much too fast. Hello, this is Ray. We'll actually be doing the application. We're going to shoot every step of the process in making this transition. So you will see the good, the bad, the ugly. The only time that we will pause is for something to dry. The first step is to saturate this polymer with our adhesion promoter, our etch. We call it our poly prep. Right? All yours. Make it wet. And you want to do the side area where the patch is going also. All right, we're going to give that a minute to dry. As it's drying, Ray will get the SI green because we're working from the top now, the top of the top side. He'll run a bead along into the crack. Being thin, it will penetrate to the bottom, and then he'll run with our zip tie to make sure it's covering the entire crack, and then sprinkle the filler on. We're using a bottle with an applicator, and we just sprinkling the filler in. And then there's a kicker built into the filler. So it's setting the chemical reaction is occurring now, and Ray will then take the brush and brush out any excess, because we do not want the next application of adhesive to hit the kicker. All right, our second application, the SI green. Spread it. And sprinkle the filler on. It's a squeeze bottle, so you can squeeze, make sure you get enough. If you get too much, you can just brush that off. Now, it sets quickly. We'll give it a few seconds before we use the brush again. Ray is spreading it. If the filler has not reacted with the adhesive, the poly filler, it will brush right out, which is what you want to have happen. That's 2 coats. Now we'll go with the third. Ray, just do this bottom portion from here on out. The adhesive, the filler. As you get closer to the top, the need for the end of the zip tie to spread it is not as great. You can almost see what you're doing. Give it a moment, take the filler. All right, now brush off the excess. And take 1 more or 2 more coats, right?
Probably 2.
Okay, so we'll use glue filler. The last one will be glue accelerator. When we use a glue accelerator, the temperature will increase. We're getting modest temperature increases up to probably let me convert that to Celsius. Approximately 53, 54 Celsius with the adhesive and the poly filler, with a kicker that's built into the filler. Now it will be the glue, the accelerator. You begin to smell a little bit of the heat. And Ray is correcting a problem that he saw where we needed a little more filler right at the end before he takes the last step of the glue and accelerator. Okay, Ray said 1 more layer of the glue and the filler. Again, this will create a bond. These techniques will create a bond between the poly beads, 1.5 micron poly beads, and the HDPE. Now it will be the adhesive, then the accelerator. All right. It is hot. It is hot. That's what you need. That is the chemical reaction. The chemical reaction is still ongoing. The heat will be maintained for 5, 6 or more minutes. That's the bond being created between the poly filler and the HDPE pipe. That was contributing to the structural strength of the pipe. I said I would cover the good, the bad, the ugly. The first application went well, except for the fact that the powder, our polyfill, did not get up into the crack. So we cleaned the crack. Good to know that when we cleaned the crack with a screwdriver, there were some parts of the polyfiller that got up into the crack on the adhesive, and we couldn't chisel that out. That's how well the process works, how strong the bond is. Now, we're going to apply the adhesive first. To begin with, on the bottom side, we will use syringes that will be able to get the adhesive well up into the end of the 40 millimeter deep cracks. But for this video, we're going to show how the last few layers of adhesive and filler would be applied. But with the syringe, the adhesive will get up into the crack, and when we go to spraying the polyfiller in, we have a needle point on the end of our sprayer that can get up into the 40 millimeters of the crack. Now Ray's going to go ahead and apply the adhesive and then use a zip tie to spread it. Spread it with the zip tie. Now we're going to spray the poly filler. Show them the focusing device. And that will focus the beads where they need to go. As I said, the good, the bad, the ugly will have Ray keep his head out of the way on the next application. Now we're doing the adhesive again. The powder sets quickly. It's a very simple, easy process. You just,
yeah. You gotta see.
now you can see the powder, excess powder coming out the side. You can recycle that if you have a mat or something underneath to collect the polyfiller. Our polyfiller, once it hits the adhesive, sets very, very quickly. And there's heat associated with it. Now another layer of the adhesive. The filler, polyfiller. Get rid of the excess. Though from the underneath side there won't be much excess. Getting rid of the excess applies more to the top. but Ray is visually inspecting the problem areas, if there are any. You know, thicker adhesive essentially saves where you put it. But you do want to spread it because you want to do things layer by layer. You have this polyfiller, you have too much to do, especially with the thicker adhesive. Where they can see the adhesive moving through the bottle so that you know when it's being applied. We're close to our final layer. The final layer will be the adhesive and the accelerator. And the accelerator will generate a very strong chemical reaction, generating bonds between the polyfiller and the HDPE pipe. Always visually inspect. It's not easy doing things from the bottom, but it can be done. Are we ready for the last layer? Yeah. Again, the last layer will generate an exothermic reaction, signifying that a chemical reaction is occurring. The heat will reach the 160 to 170 range Fahrenheit, which means that it should reach the 59 Celsius range. It is heated. Most of the heat's there. Now let's pull it off the top and have it face the camera. We're going to clean it up and come back and show you the application of the PTFE patch. All right, when you finish applying the poly filler, it will not be smooth. So we're going to sand this off. You can sand as much as you want to. The PTFE Tech patch will be able to take some roughness. Go ahead, Ray. Have at it. All right, Ray sanded 2 inches above, 2 inches below. Now we want to clean this area off so we can apply the Tech patch. We'll use acetone, alcohol, anything that will not leave a residue. Just spray the area. And wipe it off. Now, anytime you have sanded a primed poly, you have to reprime it again. So Ray will reprime it again. You prime with our poly prep with an etch. The proper way to use an etch is to give the surface enough chemical. Too often people just go squirt, squirt. That is not a sufficient job of etching. So saturate the area 2 inches above and 2 inches below the pipe. We'll let that dry. Then we're going to spray the accelerator. The accelerator is a catalyst. And as I said before, the catalyst is key to generating the exothermic reaction that will bond the patch to the HDPE pipe. Go ahead with the accelerator, Ray. You want to let that dry? You don't need as much accelerator as you do the poly prep. Now, we will provide you these patches in any length that you would like. You will cut to fit the appropriate crack. So go ahead and cut this patch. In an ideal situation, you would keep the patch away from the sanding. Now the brown side is the PTFE. The PTFE side will go against the pipe. So we're going to apply the adhesive to the pipe, to the patch, the PTFE patch, since we applied the poly prep and the accelerator to the HDPE pipe. Now we're going to apply the adhesive to the patch. You will not apply the adhesive to the corners because we're going to pick those up in order to press the patch onto the pipe. When you apply the adhesive, you use small concentric circles, squeeze the bottle as you're doing it. It'll come out quickly. Make sure the adhesive will reach the edge. By using small concentric circles, you want to make sure that there's no space. Ray is using a bigger bottle than I am, so he might beat me, he might not. I'll let him finish off. We'll pick up using the corners, center over the material, the filled in area, and press down with the edges. Press down with the edges. Make sure the edges are down. We want to inspect it afterwards, and we can correct and will correct any problem that exists. Once it's on, you grab a heat source. That can be a heat gun or hair dryer. Again, heat is critical to generating the exothermic reaction that you need. The exothermic reaction is why it works so well. You want to heat it to the point where it takes off by itself, which means getting it up to about 49 degrees. Once it's in the area of 49 degrees, the chemical reaction will start, and it's starting right now, creating the covalent bond between the patch substrate and the HDPE pipe. Now it's getting there. You have to warm up the HDPE pipe underneath, so actually holding your heat source against the patch material. Okay, I'll let Ray finish. And what we're going to do is visually inspect. Now the corners that weren't done, we're going to seal those down. We're going to visually inspect any areas that need repaired, we will repair them. Again, this is the covalent bond. As you have had discussions about the cause of the cracks in your pipe, you'll have discussions on whether or not this will work. For 6.5 years, it has worked with every scientist, every engineer, every company. It's passed every test that they have given. Read our reviews. If there was one time where the process or patch did not work, it would be in our reviews. There's no such quotation. Again, thank you for taking your time to review this. Hope to be able to work with you. Now at this point, you've used a polyfiller to fill in all the cracks in the HDPE pipe. So now we're going to put on the patch. To start with, I'm going to go through all the steps that we used on the HDPE pipe already, but it's important to review these at this point. First step is to rough the surface. Polys have a sheen to them. You want to get to the matte finish below the sheen. Use any grit that you're happy with to do that. Next, you want to clean off all the residue. You can use acetone, alcohol, or any cleaner that will not leave residue. Then you want to saturate the poly surface with the polyprep. Make it wet. You have to give it enough chemical for it to do the job. That's been the failure of how adhesion promoters have been applied. Once a polymer is primed with the polyprep with an etch, it is etched forever. You don't have to do it again. Next step is the use of the accelerator. Now we've pre-cut a patch that will go from here to halfway around the bottom. What you do is spray the accelerator in the area where you want to spray the patch. I'm going to ask Ray to cover the bottom half for me. Once you use the accelerator, you have an hour's worth of work time. So we have to apply the patch within the next hour. That will be easy to do. It's, again, solvent-based, just like the polyprep, so it's dryer ready. Now, I'm going to apply, the patch has been pre-cut, sized and pre-cut. I want to apply the adhesive to about a foot and a half of the patch. When we apply it, it's using small concentric circles. We will not apply initially adhesive to the edges of the patch. with our SI Black. We'll apply the adhesive. You want to get it all the way to the edges. You want the adhesive on the blue part also, not just the PTFE. Then Ray's going to grab those edges. We're going to flip the patch, and he's going to put the patch extending about 1 inch beyond the end of the crack. Then he's going to press on the patch with his hands, pressing down the edges. We're going to carefully apply more adhesive. And now I can apply some tension while he's pressing down the patch, which will make it easy. Now more of the adhesive. I'm going to let Ray finish off the patch so we can finish it up. Again, concentric circles, making sure you get all the way out to the edges. You will not want to apply the adhesive to the corners. Apply press, tension, and press it down. Then Ray will start at the bottom with the heat gun, and I will start at this end with the heat gun. The heat has to penetrate the patch and into the HDPE pipe. You will feel the heat take off. It will generate an exothermic reaction. You wouldn't want to do any greater length of area than this, and this was about 5 feet. And then heat, and then do the remaining, whatever that remaining is, in the second application. We're generating that exothermic reaction. It is hot. And that's when you know it's working. Now the next step is that we will visually inspect the edges, and we will glue down those corners where we did not apply the adhesive. Now, right, the final step is to run a bead of the adhesive all the way around the seam, all around the entire perimeter of the patch. So I'll ask Ray to do that from the bottom, then we'll go to the top. This just is an added layer of protection. No, there's various ways that you can add additional protection. One way is simply to apply adhesive on the patch. If there's a threat of abrasion, you should do that. Or the patch has been prepared so it would handle or accept the epoxy coatings that you apply. Then we're going to spray those seams with the accelerator. The epoxy coatings will adhere to the patch, and they will adhere to the adhesive. And you're done. We like to say it reaches operational strength almost immediately, but we don't know where this stress is coming from. So, it's good. The more time it has just sitting there curing, if you will, the stronger it will be. And remember, once it's on, it's not coming off. Simply not coming off. There's disagreement over what caused the cracks in your HDPE pipe. There will be disagreement on whether or not the tech patches will work. I will say this. We've had the patches out now for 6 years. They've been sent to countries around the world. They've been sent to scientists, engineers, and everyday people. There has been no time when a patch on a water tank has not worked. There has been no time during that entire time period where a patch has failed. So we would very much like the opportunity to work with you. Thank you.